So,
oh, I need earpiece.
Printer here, print this out for me, and then, Ed, are we ready to light this candle? What time did you get here today? About 1? Oh, okay, good. You accomplish a lot in a little time, don't you?
All right. I guess, oh, my microphone is on. Hi, everybody. I can't hear any of you yet because not only have I not logged into the chat room, I'm also just putting my earpiece in. So just letting you know.
Oh, there we are. It's official.
Yeah. It's okay.
Streamy weenie.
Right. Bum, bum, ba.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you get to see how this works. I usually use an extension. Bum, bum, ba, doo, doo.
Yeah, it is.
For some reason, it does not want to take me to the Catholic Underground page. So, oh, there it is. Just like 15 seconds behind my finger here. There we go. All right. Yeah, hi, Sharon. How you doing? Trying to get my headpiece in here.
We're late.
Is that Sharon D?
Not late, but
Oh, you know, we did loiter.
Oh, that's right. He couldn't hear me.
I can hear you.
Was that Sharon D you said hello to?
Yeah, it is.
We've been praying for Sharon.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We actually have since last week. That's good.
Yep.
Yep.
I just did. Yep. I use it every day. Yes.
Oh, let's see.
It's the Christmas gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
I moved your product out of my shop.
Oh, sorry.
I thought that was a digital keyboard.
Or a water bottle, yeah. Oh, thank you, Sharon. All right, so this is the pre-show. Ooh, it's just so exciting.
It is. What Juliet, my niece, would say is, I don't like the pre-show. I love the pre-show.
I love it.
But when then she was here at Christmas, she was like, I don't like candy. I like candy. I was like, I don't think that's how the...
Your conventions don't. Yeah.
Okay. Good for you.
All right.
Not here.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things
Not
behind the
eyes like a
scenes.
cat.
Who can say? Who can say? Probably need to put up the pre-show graphic there. Need to do that.
I just love Ed's face. Your face when you concentrate.
Yeah. I've set a password for the graphics computer so I can remote in, and I can't remember what it is.
I told you passwords are the devil.
They are. And these are ones, it's the same password, but I have to remember it. Apparently it is not the same password, because if it were the same password, we'd be sitting in butter.
But we are not.
But we're not. I'm sitting in something infinitely more uncomfortable. Wait, no, that didn't sound right either. Sorry.
What did they make? I was watching a show this weekend called The Final Table.
Yeah?
And what did they make? Butter chicken.
Butter chicken.
Yeah, but they had to make it. So what happens is they go to different countries.
Yeah.
Quote unquote, go to different countries. And they're in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And they have 3 guest judges that pick what they're going to cook from Japan. So like, we want it to be butter chicken. And it has to be vegetarian. And I was like, wait, what? You can't make butter chicken. Wait a minute. So all the cooks were like, wait, what?
Something just happened here.
A few of them didn't even put butter in it. How are you going to do that?
Well, I there are some dishes of international nature that I think the name is just kind of,
You don't like butter chicken?
I never had it.
It's not one of my favorite things.
What's not to like, the butter or the chicken?
I can't speak to that.
Well, I also did not
It's really,
know.
it's the flavoring, I think, the flavor profile.
Yeah. Okay, bye. I don't know. Now I'm here by myself. All by myself. I don't want to be.
We're here with you.
It's okay. Story of my life. Speaking of suffering, I don't even know. I'm alone.
But you said speaking of suffering when I walked in.
Oh, well.
So, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, okay.
An avocado. Thanks. Okay, so
Enjoy us on Roku. Yes.
I also did not know
Yeah.
that
What?
if you butcher a chicken,
Okay.
that there
that
are,
where we are now?
like, yes, that there are many eggs within the chicken that are in different forms of staging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is
Yeah.
this happening?
But
Okay.
like, because I was watching the show where they cooked they had to make butter chicken,
Yeah.
and they were like, well, we don't waste any part of the chicken. So they had all these little, I don't even remember what they called them, immature eggs.
Uh-huh. Sure.
But they were like egg yolks without the shell hadn't formed around them.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. I didn't realize that. And I didn't realize that because I don't think I've ever thought of that before. Where does an egg just like
Pop out.
yeah.
What comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's the chicken.
Yes.
And then the egg around the chicken. Yeah.
I don't know
I don't
yet.
like
Oh, I didn't mean to
why,
break
but
your
I don't
brain.
like
But they were
Sorry.
but they ate them. They ate all the eggs
In the butter chicken.
and the buttered chicken.
I can ask my dad.
I don't know what's happening. I just like to point that I don't. know what's
I'd never heard of that before.
Apparently, my dad used to have to kill chickens when he was a kid because that was like they lived on a like kind
That's
of
the special job.
farm scenario, and
sure.
that was his job is to kill.
Well,
the
someone's got to.
Why is okay?
He didn't eat chicken for a very long time, which can you blame him?
No, I cannot. All right. Hello to all of you in the chat room and on Roku as well.
Roku. Like that? Like what did there?
Yeah, yeah. Also, if you've seen any of these films that are at the top of the show, feel free to chime in because I've only seen a few of them.
I don't know why. It takes me forever to.
What? To what?
I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Porn. Just in general.
Yeah.
Well,
Help.
you're among friends. It's okay.
We went to Hobby Lobby yesterday.
Oh.
Who's we?
Oh, me and my boyfriend Adam.
Oh.
And we needed to get a clock. I needed to get this big clock that was up, and he was like, what do I do? And I was like, you just stand in the aisle and go, help, help.
You know who does that?
Who?
Father Ryan Humphreys. and it is the most embarrassing thing.
Yeah, Adam was not.
And he will bleat like a goat. Help! 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 Like, Ryan, this is not human interaction.
Adam was not happy about it, so we didn't do it. But I was like, come on.
I don't like confrontation in
oh my gosh.
in stores. I don't.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I prefer like not to interact with anyone in the store.
I always defer to the person who works there. Always. I never assume that
My
I'm the
will
alpha.
is to be followed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm the customer, and I know I am always wrong.
Well, even the other day, like I was actually at Hobby Lobby, and I was just like in an aisle, and there was this random cart next to me, and the lady came up to me and was like, "Excuse me, ma'am," and I was like immediately like, "Yes," and she was like, "Is that your cart?" And I was like, "Do you want it to be?
Does it need to be? Do I need to be in charge?
No,
of
it's
it?
not mine. I'm sorry." And I was literally about to say, "Should I take it to the front?" And she was like, "No, I got it."
I often get asked if I work there, like wherever I am. I mean, in collar, right? So I mean, it's obvious I'm dressed like a non-standard,
Maybe you're like the greeter at Men's Warehouse.
I apparently, because they go, "Hey, do you work?" I think it's because I stare at products with intensity.
Do you
I
have
look
these
like
in a
I'm
42
stocking the
regular?
shelf. Yeah, I don't know. So
I don't want to start a Facebook. I do not want to start a watch party. I just want to share this video. How do I
but
do
of course, my day off wear when I'm not in a collar, which is admittedly rare these days.
Do you like sweatpants?
No, I don't know.
Or like Jordache jeans?
Not.
You heard it here.
What? No, I don't. I do have. I mean, I do wear a pair of blue jeans, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually have like a solid colored T-shirt, so I guess I look generically like I could work anywhere.
That's true.
And I'd like to think it's because I have a helpful face, like, that person could help me.
But when you're studying something, your
nice.
face is more like,
It is scrunched.
yeah,
it's true.
it gets slightly like grandpa-esque.
And that's only getting worse as time goes by.
And then you like look over your glasses. Yeah, you do like that. You like pinch your glasses, and then you like concentrate really hard.
Oh, dear. Well, and I've only been wearing glasses for, I guess 4 or 5 years now. So apparently I've worked that into my routine. I don't know.
Well, as the lady who came up to us after Mass today had said, you might not even have been born when Father Decker was here. It was at St. Thomas More. And I was like,
What?
Oh, I for sure was. Thank you.
That was like 5 years. What? How many years ago? 6. Less than 10.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, but less than or around 10.
Yeah.
Are you 10
Yeah.
years old? Nah. Are you less than 10 years old?
I don't really know if people. I don't know how people gauge
I think maybe
ages.
it just like had blurred, but I was just like,
Yeah.
wait, wasn't he here like recently? Anyway. But yeah, she said she recognized me when we were sitting in the pew, and she was like, oh, the TV personality. And I was like, no.
I love how all the
that's
ladies
not
that
me.
Olivia runs into have like Brooklyn
Yeah.
accent.
Well,
They're like the old.
I was at a fundraiser last night for the Homeschool Academy.
I saw
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yeah.
For which one?
Regina Chaley.
Chaley,
Yeah. And for some reason, I guess this is just the MC in me, but like sometimes because I know what will enunciate better over a questionable sound system, is I'll switch into an accent, and I was talking like this, and I realized that it was Bernie Sanders. I was like, oh, I better stop that. It sounds like Bernie. And nobody knew what they didn't, because everything's so politically charged. So anyway. All right. Now that 31 of you are watching, let's pray. We got about a few seconds actually before the show starts. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty God, we thank you for this opportunity to broadcast the gospel. We ask that you send your Holy Spirit to be with us and to say the things that will help those on the way to salvation. We ask, O Lord, also that you would be near those who are suffering in any way tonight, those who are bearing the cross with you. Bless our time, bless our technology, and keep it safe from all deadly attack of the enemy. We make this prayer and trust through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, we'll see you in 10 seconds.
The life, Catholic tradition, now more than ever.
WPYR 1380 AM Baton Rouge and WPYR LP 105.9 FM Baton Rouge.
Today on the show, your Oscars alternative. Turns out life isn't fair. Let's get mysterious. Our picks of the week and so much more. The Catholic Underground starts right now. Hey there, it's time for the Catholic Underground. We are the podcast that tries to cut through the noise of the digital continent and bring you the topics that matter. It's episode number 415. I am Father Chris Decker, joined this week by the usual crew, the CU crew, Kathleen Lee. She is a teacher, aren't you?
Yep.
You form young minds.
I think so.
At Our Lady of Mercy School in Baton Rouge. We've also got Olivia Galino. She teaches everyone just by her presence. Hi, Olivia.
Thanks.
It's
Hi.
true, yeah. And we are your willing pupils. If we go up into space, you will find sitting there Exhibit C, Jeff Blackwell, with his St. Joseph candle.
Yes, indeed.
That's right, yeah. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I am still baptized, I'm telling you.
Still baptized.
It's
You can't
stuck.
undo that. Yeah, that's true. And also up there on the satellite, we've got Ed. Ed is running the video for our video feed. So if you're listening to us in podcast form, hey, how are you? And if you're watching us, well, hi, everybody. If you're watching us on any of the different outlets that you can find us on, especially the Roku. We got some people on Roku this evening. You can search for the Catholic Underground on Roku and download our channel and watch when we're live. Mm-hmm. All right, there's also other stuff that we tend to do year to year, and that's go to the movies. Do you still go to the movies at all?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I have. It's not something I normally think of doing, but I did see Frozen 2 recently.
Oh,
Well,
all right.
I have
An
not.
experience,
I have
yeah.
not seen.
Me neither.
No, I feel like I'm missing a segment of my younger parishioners because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But then again, they haven't started quoting songs to me that I don't know
Yeah,
yet.
it's not
So,
quite as quotable,
Not as quotable.
the original.
It's
Yeah.
it's hard to get lightning in a bottle. It really is.
Well, I feel like maybe the second one they tried to put like meaning into this, like they focused on the meaning of the story, from what I understand. And some of that,
And it lacks some character
like,
development.
Musical stuff's got to go.
I
you know?
see. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this is not a commentary on Frozen 2. I'll keep my comments.
But what it is a commentary on is that that movies do happen for sure. And while you might be flipping channels and watching the Academy Awards or the fallout of the Academy Awards, there are a number of religious themes that graced a number of notable films in 2019 and actually 2018 as well. So like there's an art house film about a beatified martyr. There's a belated documentary about a celebrated gospel concert. There's a fact-based drama about an alliance of devout and unbelieving survivors of clerical sex abuse calling for justice. So you see kind of a wide swatch of things. And so what we thought we'd do at the top of the show is talk a little bit about these, because Deacon Stephen Greydanus is one of the guys over at the National Catholic Register, and he's their resident film critic. And he made a list of the 30 films most moved, thrilled, inspired, shook, or haunted him in 2019. And so we figured we'd just cover the top 10 and maybe see if there are films that you know about, or maybe if they aren't, you might want to, I don't know, we don't really say rent anymore, but I guess you can rent them on your streaming platform of choice.
Yeah.
I explained Blockbuster to my students the other day.
I think there's
They
one Blockbuster
could not
still
understand. Yeah, it is. It's somewhere
In Alaska?
Alaska, I think. Yeah, but they could not understand. It was like, so you went in to do what?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you
To
would
rent
go
a
in-
movie.
Yeah, you would browse the idea of a hard copy is
Yeah.
lost to them.
And
if it
that
wa-
was all that was available to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And if
they
the
were-
three
That
of
and
them
candy.
if the three of them were out, you guess
Then
who wasn't watching the movie?
You were
that
watching
night?
something else.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to the library and not getting the book that you want. But even still, that might be lost on folks.
Yeah.
I don't know. So anyway, the number one film, I'm presuming that we're just kind of counting up, right? Number one is A Hidden Life. The moral themes of dramas of martyrdom and conscience, like A Man for All Seasons, the one about St. Thomas More, and Sophie Scholl blend with Terrence Malick's signature themes of theodicy and paradise lost in this ecstatic, anguished 3-hour cinematic hymn singing of life and death of Blessed Franz Jagerstatter. So this is a guy who has been declared blessed, beatified by the church, and so it's his story. Malick's most linear film in years is also his most overtly religious and most political, with challenges for both believing and secular admirers, violence and menace, thematic content, mature teens. We're going to let you know that too, because we are the Catholic Underground, and we don't just have a market to the youngins, right? So you might want to observe some of your normal parental guidance if you're going to watch some of these films, because we often talk about this on the show, that whenever you're going to speak about the themes of life and death, when you're going to speak about the themes of good and evil, sometimes you're going to get into grit, right? And there's nothing wrong with grit in a film. if it actually is moving you towards an end, right? If there's grit in a film and it's just there, if it's gratuitous, as we would say, then I don't know, you can steer clear of it. So hopefully these films won't be just grit for grit's sake.
Yeah.
Number 2, One Child Nation, which I haven't seen yet, but it's on my my wish list on Amazon Prime. The psychological and cultural toll, as well as the human rights atrocities of China's war on the family, are laid bare in this first-person stealth documentary. Oh, I like the idea of a stealth documentary. Yeah, juxtaposing memories of growing up in the one-child era. So you might remember that China has, or at least until recently, has had a one-child policy that you could only have one child. With revealing interviews, archive materials, it's a furiously controlled blend of political indictment, cultural cross-examination, and personal journey. There's frank discussion of the atrocities, which obviously can be kind of graphic, including some forced abortions and disturbing images, and some language issues. So mature teen audience is only there for that. But these sorts of things, it's kind of like the movie Unplanned. If you haven't seen that, it's not on the list here, interestingly enough. But there are some very mature themes. But we have to, in order to kind of think through some of these things, that's what good cinema and good literature is supposed to do. Yeah. Help us to see something, perhaps from a subjective standpoint in film, but then to be able to look at some of the objective themes too, because what good literature and what good film does is supposed to help us to reach higher,
But it doesn't whitewash human experience either.
No, right, because human experience is fallen, no matter how much that we want to try to say, oh, we don't have to worry, but sin is in the past, well, we still suffer the effects of original sin, and that includes concupiscence, being inclined to sin, and that happens on an individual level, and it can also happen at the level of, say, an entire nation or state. And so these films are important too. Amazing Grace, which I'm actually looking forward to seeing, Sidney Pollack's long unfinished film of Aretha Franklin's 1972 gospel concert in Southern California Community Choir at LA's New Temple Missionary Baptist Church. It was completed at last by producer Alan Elliott, and it's an exuberant celebration of music and showmanship and a transcendent act of worship. Nothing problematic there. It's just, it's a concert, and it's finally been finished. So really, really kind of a neat thing. So 1972, Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I love documentaries like that when it's about somebody, somebody with the talent like Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
When you listen to good singers, oh my, and this is not,
and actual soul music too.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of comments that I can make on music today, blah, 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 right? And what a musician is, okay? Yeah. Oh, this woman, and many singers like her. They began in the church. Yeah. They knew exactly where their gift came from, and they used it, and they used it well, right? So that's a really good one. I want to see.
It's always interesting when you see there are some singers, kind of like Aretha Franklin, who always, you got the sense that she always knew what her roots were, and that was what drove her forward. Yeah. And then you have folks that become members of rock bands and things that start in a believing community in church, and then take a left turn somewhere and go crazy. Yeah. It's always beautiful to see the fact that that the spiritual themes in music aren't just made to sell records, but they're there actually to worship God. And so, of course, Aretha Franklin is a good example of that. Number 4 on the list is The Farewell, a gorgeous and winning cross-cultural comedy drama about extended Chinese family going to unusual lengths to gather around a dying matriarch who doesn't know that she's dying. Lulu Wang's semi-autobiographical film finds universal truths in this tale of a very specific lie. A Shinto ritual, brief, crass language, some heavy drinking and inebriation, some mature themes, teens and up. So you might want to watch that one with your kids. And it's interesting to note that a lot of these films are foreign films. And I find that there's so much that can be explored within a foreign film that we, perhaps in the United States, I don't know if it's our puritanical roots or what. There are some themes that we just won't explore. And it seems like when it comes to spirituality, you find certainly the East and Europe willing to explore some of those themes.
By the way, the farewell was superbly acted.
Oh, you saw it?
I did, yes. My wife and I saw it. It's largely subtitles, but it is such a cool story, and talking about, family and traditions and what have you. So
I appreciate a good subtitle film, but of course, like with many all subtitled films, you have to be watching it. Like it can't be the thing that you're doing while you're doing something else.
Right. Yeah. That's why they made the pause button.
That's why they make the pause button. That's right. Let's see. So let's see. The number 5 is Light from Light from Grasshopper Film. Lost mystery and the pursuit of meaning are recurring themes in Paul Harrell's subdued indie drama set in East Tennessee. This is a whisper quiet ghost story that, while not overly religious, implicitly raises questions about discerning the voice of God speaking to us. So it's got some mature themes, a brief medical scare, teens and up. So there you go. Number 6, I actually saw number 6, and that is Apollo 11. It is the long-neglected, high-definition NASA film. So they take all the film reels from NASA, and they have woven it into a new wondrous access to one of humanity's most extraordinary achievements, Todd Douglas Miller's masterful documentary. There's brief language, of course, kids and up, so you can watch this with your kids. And one of the things I loved about it is it's almost like ambient sound, right? So there's some dialogue, but any of the narration is done by text, and so you're just kind of getting the story told by the people that are being that are in the film. It's really well done indeed. Cool. So if you like space like I do, that's the way to go. Number 7, They Shall Not Grow Old. I haven't seen this one yet either, but it's in my queue. Voices and faces from the dim and distant past emerge with stunning vitality. And Peter Jackson, so like Lord of the Rings director, tour de force World War I documentary, which features cutting-edge digital restoration and colorization of World War I footage. Graphic battlefield imagery, of course, adults only for that one. But just looking at I saw some of the making of They Shall Not Grow Old. Talk about a fantastic thing to be able to see what technology can do now, and taking the very early days of the moving picture camera and then being able to technologically restore and to colorize some of these things. Because oftentimes, I don't know about you, but when I think of things that happen in the distant past, they happen in black and white in my head.
Yeah.
You know?
One of my favorite things is, there's some photographers who have a kind of practice of colorizing digital photos, and it's amazing, or not digital, colorizing film photos, like that are, 50, 60, 70 years old. And that's always the thing that strikes me is like, these look like people that I would see on the street today. Like, whereas in my mind, I don't know, that all sounds
they
like
seem
they look different.
Unaccessible,
But it just looks like, someone's wearing a 1940s dress or something but she could be a Walmart.
That's right. Well, especially now with the new hipster craze.
It's true.
It's very true. Let's see, number 8 is another integration of Little Women, a feel-good celebration of family bonds and moral virtue. But Greta Gerwig hasn't just remade Louisa May Alcott's often adapted classic. She's reimagined and reinterpreted it, interweaving the two halves of Alcott's story and glossing the autobiographical significance of the character.
Saoirse Ronan.
Brief inebriation, mature themes might be fine for older kids, but you may want to watch with them.
I really want to see this movie.
Me too.
You want to see the movie?
Like, for real, super bad.
It's sad to say, I vaguely recall reading the book. I think I've read the book.
I don't think I've read the book, but I loved the first one that came out.
The Winona Ryder one? Yeah.
Basically because Christian Bale was in it. But, I also loved the theme of it. It was a great story.
Okay, all right.
Now that I'm an adult, I can, I can say that. But at the time, I was like, hello, Christian Bale.
He was fresh off of Newsies, right? Is that what it was?
That's it. That's what it was.
Yeah. Number 9, I saw this one because I love a whodunit. Knives Out. Rain Johnson's in his hands, an old-fashioned, ridiculously entertaining whodunit with all the usual elements becomes a morality tale with a distinctly contemporary vibe, rewarding decency and compassion, siding with the marginal over the privileged, and knocking the complacent on both sides of contemporary political discourse. It's obviously a murder mystery, so it's a murder theme. There is a suicide. There, of course, are sexual references and frequent profanity and crude language. So your older teens and up, But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it really was, because I like a murder mystery with a twist and then a twist. And if nothing else, to see Who's the guy who plays James Bond? What's his name?
Sean Connery?
Nope, the new one.
Yep. Now I can see his face. Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig,
Yes.
yeah.
Danny Boy, yes.
If nothing else, just to see Daniel Craig play an old Southern,
Oh, really?
an old Southern, not lawyer, but an old Southern detective.
Yes,
He
indeed.
speaks with the caramelized accent in the whole film.
Sounds like Andy on that episode of The Office.
Yes,
so,
I love it.
So that's very much worth it right there.
Oh, yeah, oh yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right.
And number 10, by the grace of God, 3 adult survivors of clerical sexual abuse in childhood band together to confront church authorities and face their trauma in Francois Ozon's emotionally persuasive, fact-based French drama. Several graphic descriptions of clerical sex abuse of boys, references to genital deformity, partial female nudity, brief domestic violence, harsh language, so adults only. But again, really well done cinema can help us to confront some of these things and actually begin to think about a response. And so it's worth mentioning some of these films that are being made. You know, that they're not just trying to knock the church, but to ask some of those deeper questions about how can we make sure that this never happens again. And that comes from kind of bringing things out of the darkness into the light. And that's actually what cinema can do as well. So if you want the whole article, we'll make sure that we put that in the show notes so that you can see all 30 in this big long list of things that happened in 2019. Also, as we've done for you, they also give the recommended viewing audience to adults or teens or kids or everybody. So that'll be in the show notes whenever the show goes out over podcast. We'll make sure that it's there. But in the meantime, don't get any popcorn, or maybe we'll give you a second because we'll tell you we are the Catholic Underground. You are listening to, you are watching, you are imbibing in some way. I don't know if we're intravenously available yet.
Not yet.
Getting there.
The future is here.
Yeah, but we are the Catholic Underground. We're online at CatholicUnderground.tv. I'm Father Chris, joined by Kathleen Lee, by Olivia Galino, by the one and the only Jeff Blackwell. I think we can all agree that we're happy that while God was making molds, he made the Jeff mold. So thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so kind of you. My mama said some grew back, but, you know, it's okay.
As long as it wasn't black mold. We know about that in Louisiana.
Yeah. In the year 25. I don't know why that came. You were talking about, infusion of
CU.
Of CU. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So maybe Zager and Evans will.
No, we're happy, Jeff, that you simply have being. You know, I asked kids in my CCD class a couple of weeks ago, is it better to be or to not be? And they had never thought about that before.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very interesting discussion because some of them says, well, it's better to not be because, you know, the planet's in danger. I'm like, well, baby child, the planet is for you. It's better that you are.
And it's been in danger for a while now.
Yeah,
so.
it's true. It's very true. It's very true. So being a good steward is important, but you have to have being to be a good steward. You know, Kathleen, sometimes life isn't fair.
Look, that's the story of my life, okay?
I know on the screens, if you see, we've put some sparrows so that, you know, not to cheapen things.
His eye is on the sparrow. Yes.
Kathleen, you are worth more than many sparrows.
I hope so, because I'm pretty cute. That's what I'm going to say about that, okay? But there is suffering in life. Like, right, we all go through suffering. We've all at one point said, it's not fair only to have our mother respond, life's not fair, get over it, right? One of the most, I think, harmful lies of the modern world is that life is supposed to be easy and comfortable. I mean, look around. How much are we trying to make that 100%
We try to do that, yeah. To seek pleasure, avoid pain.
Yes, right. There's even a sense in which moderns, which would be us, believe we're entitled to this comfort and ease. Well, I deserve it. Like this should be a part of my life. I shouldn't have to suffer.
First class all the way, right?
Right. That is some sort of fundamental human right that we should live a life of ease and comfort and no bumps in the road. And many of us, including myself, have absorbed this. It's a subtle thinking, right? And even if we're like, even if we're religious, you know, and we think, yes, suffering, we hear it all the time. We're like, okay, yeah, but I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to do it, right? When trouble comes to us, when life is inconvenient or difficult, we are almost angry at the injustice of it, right? I remember the first time I did my taxes, Olivia. I don't know if this has been a part. Like the first time I did my taxes, and on the little machine, like on the little computer, right? My number's going up, and I'm like, woohoo! Right? And my dad says, "You see how that box around it is orange and not green?" I said, "Uh-huh." He said, "That means you owe that." I said, "What?" And there was table flipping and many talks about the social injustice of taxes. Now, as if this were some sort of cosmic crime, right, that violates that easy way of life that we're looking for, or that we believe that we should have, right? We complain and we take God to task sometimes, right, for upsetting our dreams. A very unkind thing to do. How dare you, God, right? And now for me, this was probably 18, 19-year-old me talking about a couple $100 I owed, right? But for some people, there's serious suffering, right? And there oftentimes, right, we bring that to God and say, how could you make this happen? How could you do this, right?
Which, by the way, he can take it.
Right.
He expects our frustration.
Absolutely. But the fact is that life isn't always fair. Things aren't always easy. Right? Nor were they meant to be. That doesn't mean that anyone in particular, at least of all, God is to blame. Right? A lot of times when something happens to us, we look for someone to blame. We look for someone to sue. We look for someone to call to task on it. And sometimes things just are the way they are. Right? And accepting this fact is the first step to real freedom. Because when we're burdened with who are we gonna blame for this? Who are we gonna land this on? We're not always going to find an answer.
Right. And that's the thing. It's not that we're not going to be able to place blame, but we're not always going to find the answer of why is there suffering? Because that's really kind of the deeper question here. And that's what we get mad at God about, is why is there suffering, and why am I at the end of the suffering stick, Why
did you pick me?
Why is there toil in my life? We talk about that in the show every now and then, is that toil is the result of original sin. We are called to co-work with God. And before original sin, we were able to indeed work without toil. Right. But now we work with toil.
Right, yeah.
And it brings suffering.
Yeah, and you may have heard, this is a very, very depressing thing to hear, but I've heard an older generation, right, who had it a lot harder than I did. You may have heard this phrase, life is hard and then you die.
Life is hard,
what?
Then you die.
Right? And at first glance, this saying sounds brutal and pessimistic. Right, as if life is one long miserable slog. This is a word that reminds me. Slog, crowned with the blackness of the void. Right.
Oh,
but I know it sounds horrible. Life is hard. You suffer, and then you die, and that's just it. Right. But looked at in another light, this saying strikes at a deeper truth. It is only when you accept life as it is that you can really live with joy. Right. When we accept that life is going to be difficult. When there's going to be hardships, when there's going to be work to be done, when there's, I love my students that come into class and I say, okay, get out your book. And they're like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we had to do some work. Blah. Right? And
this
they're
is
like,
school.
I know.
This is what school's about.
Can't we just have free? No, you can't. You have to suffer.
You must suffer. Yeah.
And so people who lived before the advent of mechanized modernity were realists. Right. Before there was air conditioning, before there was programs that would do your taxes for you,
and the cotton gin.
Right. Yes, they expected that life would be hard and even painful. Right. You think about in the last 100 years, how many people. I've been watching Dr. Quinn, catching up with Dr. Quinn. How many people, they didn't expect to live past a certain age, or they expected to lose a certain amount of their pregnancies, or children after they had been actually born.
Or the yield from their crops, or any number of things,
or
not make it through the winter.
Right, and they knew that this was part of life. They expected it. So making a living would unquestionably involve labor, sweat, sacrifice. Now we're looking for job where I can sit at home in my pajamas and work on my computer all day. That would be great. If you know of one, let me know.
The priesthood is not that job.
No. There would be sorrow along the way, right? Yet far from depressing them, you would think these people walked around with their hat in their hands and their tears flowing down their face every day. This expectation freed them to enjoy the leisure and simple pleasures they did have more fully. Right. When you expect things to be hard, you enjoy your ease all the more. So they they expected things to be difficult. And then when they had leisurely time or small things gave them great joy.
Yeah.
And you look at the way it looks at today, we expect things to be easy. And so
it's the other way around.
Yeah,
I expect to enjoy all the time and maybe have a little bit of work.
Exactly. And really, what are we enjoying? I mean, I think of, watching kids open presents on Christmas Day. If 50 years ago,
Jeff used to get an orange.
Yeah. You used to get one toy, and now they get 50 toys, and they're like, "That's it." I'm like, "What? That's it?
Oh, yeah.
Get out of here with that!" Right?
Yeah.
But the aim of modern secular society has, in many ways, been one long quest to eradicate suffering. Right? So
it hasn't worked.
No, for in a world without God and without objective meaning, suffering cannot be the greatest evil.
Right.
Those of us who have grown up in this secularized world have been raised to believe we have a right to a pain-free, pleasure-maximized life. That's my right, a human being.
It's your wrong.
Wrongo. Boo-boo. Okay? And if we ultimately cannot escape suffering due to illness or other causes, we can even go so far as to take our own life to avoid it. I know of many, many people.
Yeah.
There's pain in their life, whether it be physical or mental or spiritual, and they can't handle it. We're a generation now that hasn't grown up with the tools to manage this suffering.
Yeah.
And so people choose not to handle it.
Yep.
Right? And so in life, the joy we experience is directly related to our frame of mind. G.K. Chesterton says this: "Blessed is he who expecteth nothing, for he shall enjoy everything." How awesome.
Yeah.
Right? If we don't expect anything for Christmas, if we get one gift, we're like, "What? This is awesome."
That's right.
Right? If we expect ease and comfort and endless pleasure, difficulties will be a rude and loathsome shock to us.
Yeah.
And it is to many people,
Yeah.
right? But if we expect that life will include pain and even sorrow, we won't be surprised when it comes, and we'll know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Right? We'll rather endure it with patience, beseeching God's mercy to persevere. So instead of blaming our God, we turn to our God in that time. And so, look, life's going to be hard. We all know that. It's going to continue to be hard. You've probably experienced it in your life. If you haven't, let me know what kind of life you live in, because I'd like to be a part of that, right? But instead of blaming our God, let us turn to our God in those times of pain and suffering.
And I'll share my orange.
Yeah. And Jeff will share his orange with you.
That's right.
To alleviate your pain.
That's right. That's why we say Benedicamus Domino. Let us bless the Lord. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy towards us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary. Welcome back. You found the Catholic Underground with me, Father Chris Decker, joined also by Kathleen Lee, Olivia Galino, Jeff Blackwell, Ed Ball, the whole crew. Everybody's here. Yeah, we've even got some studio audience there in the green room, which is nice.
Do.
It's true. Actually, we have kind of a blue room. It's not green.
Yeah.
It's blue. That's okay. Yeah. It's all right. You know what? We might do that one of these days. Is kind of put one of our cameras on a tether and go and show you the studio. I think that would be cool. I don't know how that's going to work on a podcast, but we'll work that out.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll survive.
Yeah, exactly.
Kathleen will do color commentary.
It'll be great.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know if you'd like a behind-the-scenes episode, and we'll do that. We haven't done that in quite a while.
Yeah.
So
we can start with the 80 screens that are in this room.
We do. They exude quite a bit of heat.
And they multiply
it is quite
every week.
warm. I am a sweater, but like when I come in here, I'm like, ha.
That's true. That's right. And Jeff has to sit on the satellite. It's not cold up there in the satellite.
No, it's comfy. Right outside there, it is a little bit frosty.
That's right. Yeah, we don't want your blood to freeze, Jeff.
Or boil.
Yeah, exactly. Or boil, because it would boil in space. Yeah, so in space nobody can see your blood boil. Yeah, so one of the things that we certainly do as Catholics is we worship mystery. We don't worship the concept of mystery. We worship the one who is mysterious. And he's mysterious not because he doesn't wish to be known, but he is mysterious because he wishes for us to know him better, and to know him infinitely in the life to come. And so we thought we'd take a little time to break open what we mean when we say mystery.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we think about Knives Out, right? We think like a murder mystery,
right.
something that has to be solved, and Angela Lansbury's got to show up and say, aha!
Was she in that movie?
No, but gosh, I wish she would.
That would have been
just about
that.
to say, you're about to say she wished she were. You wished that she was. Yeah.
I'm sorry, kids. You know who Angela Lansbury is, right?
Look it up.
Oh, man.
Google
Murder
that.
they
I
don't
do.
write anymore.
I do.
Yeah, I know that is.
Or maybe Tom Bosley? Is that dating me a little bit? Tom Bosley, who played
my.
Father Dowling, the Father Dowling
Yes.
mysteries.
Oh, I know. I've heard that name.
I also know Columbo.
Okay, right. There you go. Peter
Ding
Falk.
for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
Ding
okay.
for me.
So these are all like, TV mysteries, but there's something deeper to mystery than that.
Yeah, and I actually asked this question the other day, and like the top answer that I get from like all my classes was, well, just something that you don't know, or like the unknown,
Which is not incorrect.
which is not incorrect, but it's also like, I think it's like the surface level of mystery, right? Which is, is the point. I'm a teacher, but like, it's like the surface level of mystery. But what we forget to do is we forget that if it is indeed a mystery, that there's depths to it.
That's right. There's not just the crust on the meringue.
Right.
But there's a whole pie underneath there.
Right. It's got to be chewy too on the inside.
Must be chewy. Yes. That's a great metaphor.
Well, a meringue is supposed to be chewy.
I like a
inside.
mystery meringue. There you go. There's
I
our
had a
episode
mystery
title.
meringue.
I just like any old meringue, okay? Call me.
But yeah, so like Kathleen was saying, like in our secular world, sometimes our ways of thinking or even our vocabulary can get kind of like hijacked, and like it has this definition, and that's the
repurposed.
only way to think of like we kind of get caught into these like more secular ways of thinking about something. So today a mystery is going to be used to talk about something we don't have an answer for, like a murder mystery, like a cold case or something. Or when we talk about like the thing that makes my blood boil is whenever someone is like, they don't understand something, so they're just like, well, it's a mystery.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like,
Insufficient.
I hate that, right? Especially when we're talking about things about God. Like, yes, things are mysterious.
Yeah.
Are they incomprehensible? Not completely.
Right.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about what mystery is. And I'll have to say, like, as a little bit of backstory to this particular topic, which Jim is so good at picking out our topics.
Kudos to Jim Hayes and the crew in the lab.
Yeah, every time it's just like he knows us. But I remember once I was giving a talk to an RCIA group, and my topic was the Paschal mystery and salvation history, which I like all of that in 45 minutes. Okay, but I remember one of the questions that got asked at the end was like, okay, well, we've talked about like the Paschal part, but what is a mystery? And I just remember that really like hit to the heart, because I was like, wow, you're right. Like that there is, we've talked about all the things that we can understand about this, but let's delve into what we can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so this is something that I've been thinking about since that man asked me that question. But yeah, we tend to think about mysteries as things to be overcome, right? It's a gap in our knowledge, right? This is like the God of the gaps kind of, the way that some people think about God is in this God of the gaps, where like, if we just can't explain something, if there's a gap in our knowledge, well, then we just fill it with God, right? Well, it's a mystery, right? And so the usual attitude though of the world towards things that are mysterious are to solve it, to get under it, get to the bottom of it. And then once we solve the riddle, we move on to something else, right? We're always just trying to like check off boxes of things that we don't understand and move them from column A into column B. But especially in the Christian world, and especially the Catholic world, mystery is something that's different. It has something that has more texture to it than just that. So in that particular realm of thinking, this Catholic realm of thinking, mystery refers to the fact that there's these hidden dimensions in everything, right? In things, in people, in situations, right? In moments.
Yeah, that there's a deeper reality to things that we can't immediately perceive.
Right. And I mean, I think that you can draw people's attention to that, right? Because like think about like the last time you held a newborn baby, right? Like some people are like given to tears when they hold a newborn baby, or like the last time that someone gave you some flowers or something, or did something to make you feel noticed, right? Like the simple act, right? Holding a child or, giving a flower, there's nothing really to it. Right? Yeah. Physically speaking, all I'm doing is I'm cranking my arms like this, baby's not dropping. Okay, we're good. Right? Or I'm handing over something that I've exchanged currency for, right? Those are very simple things on like a physical level. Yeah. But the thing that would induce someone to tears, right, over holding a baby or receiving a flower or receiving, a special gift is that meaning, that deeper meaning behind it. And sometimes that can be mysterious even to us, right? Like sometimes something happens, you're like, I don't even know why I'm crying, so sometimes it can be like a mystery even to us, but it's because we're like face to face with some kind of hidden dimension that maybe we've never encountered before, and we're trying to make sense of it. Yeah. Right. And it's okay that's like something that might be a little disorienting, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about, Kathleen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've done that recently. Poor men. Many a time, I don't like to be emotional, but many a time I have bust out in tears and been like, I don't, and they're like, what can I do? And I'm like, nothing. I don't even know myself. Like,
just let this go to its reasonable conclusion. And
just give me a hug and some candy, and I'll dry up in a minute. It'll be fine.
Admittedly, yeah. Depending on the situation, like tears have no effect on me. I just go.
They really don't. If you cry in Father Christmas Presents, he's like, what's the guy's name? Alex Baldwin's character in 30 Rock?
Jack Donaghy.
He's like the Jack Donaghy with the broom. Like, they're there.
Yeah.
And I say that with
if you'd
love.
like to pass some eye water, I'll pass you some weakness tissues. But no, I don't know. I think it's because I cry at the drop of a hat, believe it or not. I do. Like if I see something that's moving on television or something, like the CBS Evening News, how like they end with and today, here's the story of a kid who only wanted to, I'm just crying the whole time through. But I think I go, whenever somebody cries in my presence, especially if it's a lady, I will immediately go into like clergy protects her, simply be with mode.
Yeah. Which is
while
for the
at the
best.
same time going, there's something mysterious here.
Well, and I will say, like, this is aside from what we were talking about, but I will say that's a good practice to have too, because like, let's say that like a woman is crying in your presence and then you start crying, then she'll start to like tend to you.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Well, I guess
and she'll
so.
be like, well, Father, like talk, like it's okay. Like she'll stop what she's doing to like tend towards you. Yeah. And so it's actually like maybe an act of mercy that you would like let her do a thing.
I blame the Holy Spirit for my reactions. I hope anyway. Yeah. Anyway, mystery.
But yeah, so we like touch into those deeper hidden dimensions of things, and sometimes they can kind of throw us back or be staggering to us. But it's a sign that something more is happening. Like some of my favorite philosophers, one of them, he's a French phenomenologist, and he talked about this, right? That basically in these, like, he called it saturated phenomena, right? So that you can encounter a moment, a person, a face, right? Even like someone's face could like draw you into these deeper dimensions. And he said that in those moments, in those people, in those faces, that they're saturated with meaning. And so it's like all of that meaning kind of washes over you and you're overwhelmed. And that's not a bad thing, right? But when it happens, you might even be thinking of something as I'm talking and you're like, oh yeah, I've experienced that.
If I space out, sometimes I'll space out at mass, and it's because like something has like clicked in my head and I can't break away. Yeah,
you're kind of like taken up into it, right? And that's maybe the heart of mystery. And so one of maybe the best definitions of mystery, according to Monsignor Charles Pope, that we're kind of piggybacking off of, is the theologian and philosopher John Lacroix, not of Fizzy Water fame. No. But he says mystery is that which opens temporality, right? Temporality is anything that is transient. Yeah, so time, anything subject to time. So mystery is that which opens temporality and gives it depth. It introduces a vertical dimension and makes of it a time of revelation, of unveiling.
Surely you don't mean the liturgy.
No, obviously not.
See, that's of course one of the biggest ways, or perhaps the largest way in which we encounter mystery, right?
Yeah.
And yet, whenever people say, I didn't get anything out of it, well, there was a lot that was plumbable in it.
Right.
And so you didn't bring your plunger.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that it starts with, whenever people say like, well, I didn't get anything out of it. Like the first thing that we really have to do is realize that like I'm a mystery to have the depths of me plumbed.
That's right.
So I have to kind of like focus on myself as mysterious, because if I can't even recognize it in myself, I'm not going to see it in other people. I'm not going to see it in other things, and much less the mass, but the more that I start to develop a sense of my own interior mystery, and not just the ways that I'm mysterious to myself, the ways that I'm unknown to myself, but the fact that I am someone and something where you can plumb the depths of me.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? Like an inexhaustible, kind of fountain of goodness. Yeah. Right?
Jeff, do you ever think to yourself, who are you, oh me? I do every now and then. When I come unto myself, right? Whenever, like the prodigal son, whenever you're sitting there before the pods and you're going, I need to go back to my father. You might even not even be a state of sin or anything, but just to go, man, who are you, oh human being? Who are you, oh man?
Yeah.
And that is actually an okay thing to do. I think sometimes we need permission, kind of like what Kathleen was talking about earlier, is that we tend to think that because we want life to just be easy, it's hard to admit that we're unknown to ourselves without some sort of skeleton key to unlock it.
Yeah.
And of course, that's where our relationship with God comes in, and that we also, if we recognize that we ourselves are mysterious at a deep level, then there's also something whenever we go to Mass and we go to the liturgy that helps to unlock the mystery that is us too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm never just doing something that's purely external to me. Yeah. Right. Like just pure activity. No, it always has bearing on who I am and who I'm called to be. And like will teach me about the mystery that is myself.
Yeah. I often tell my students when they're like, oh, Mass is boring. I said, no, you are. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, it's because there's so much going on in the Mass that like you might not know about, but let me tell you about it. Yeah. And then you can say you're bored. But I dare you to, because if we truly believe what was going on up there is going on, there's no way you can say that this is boring. Just on that sole fact alone, which you know is happening up there.
That's right. Which is, of course, you know what we translate word mysterion into now?
What?
Sacrament. The very first thing that the priest says after the greeting at Mass is, let us acknowledge our sins so that we may worthily prepare ourselves to celebrate these sacred mysteries. You see, and so we're saying so that we can understand that we're not just going to be receiving a piece of bread, and we're not just going to be receiving a sip of wine, but rather we are going to be entering into a relationship with one who somehow is able to give his very divinity to us under the disguise of bread and wine. We have to make ourselves ready. And the first way that we begin to plumb the mystery that is us is by acknowledging the mystery of sin in us, that we give ourselves over to sin rather than over to God all the time, and to offer that to God. And so that's what prepares us to celebrate the mysteries, is by saying, I am unknown even unto myself without you, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where, so mystery isn't just this something that we can apply in the secular world, but like we've been talking about, it's something that intersects with our faith. Yeah. Right. So in terms of faith, then there's this even higher meaning to mystery, right? So it's not just these moments of reaching those hidden dimensions. It's not just those moments of saturated phenomena, that there's these intense, it's not just a alternate dimensions, but there's a vertical dimension, right? Like the philosopher we were talking about, Lacroix, said that mystery introduces that vertical dimension, right? And so it makes of it a time of revelation, of unveiling, right? And that's really, it's Yves
going
Congar,
up and deeper in.
Yeah, Yves Congar talked about like the mystery of tradition as being this intersection of a horizontal and a vertical dimension,
and
right?
that makes a cross, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Yeah, do. And so like in that we can come to appreciate something of God and all that he's done, all that he's made. Think about creation, right? Creation just isn't like kind of blanketed there, right? It doesn't just exist in this like state of stasis where it's just like waiting on something to act upon it, right? Creation has not just vitality and movement and dynamism, but it's got deeper meaning and reality. That's why you can see a sunset and be so moved that you cry, right? Or laugh or have some kind of reaction that you wouldn't just normally have, right? Because those things, while seemingly just things and like meaningless moments where, one is as good as any other, no, they mean something. They reveal the creator to us, right? The creator of the universe speaks to us through those moments, through those ways of unlocking temporality.
Which is why when people say, I don't go to church because I see God in the sunrise or I see God in nature, I go, it's both and.
The same God.
You have to, again, have some way to begin to interpret that mystery. And the same guy who makes the sun, the same God who makes the sun to rise in the east is also the same God who makes the sun rise in your heart, and there's a vertical mystery, and then there's a horizontal mystery to that too. And it's at the altar of the world. It's at the altar where those two mysteries combine. And so, of course, the sacrament, the Eucharist, is the place where the vertical and the horizontal come together.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about that now this is an interesting one. So if you think about Jesus Christ, who is fully God and fully man, his two natures represent the coming together of mystery itself, of the vertical and the horizontal dimension of mystery. And so when you receive the Eucharist, you're receiving that which is ultimately mysterious, but also ultimately knowable because God wants to be known.
Yeah. Well, that's
sorry if there were explosions in your head, but
that's the heart of salvation mystery, right? The God who is utterly transcendent and utterly mysterious makes himself known, right? That God now has a face and feet
and a name,
right? And allows himself to be addressed by us. Right. And not only addressed by us, but desires relationship with us, and so deeply that he wants us to consume him. Right. Like it's not that the mystery goes away with the incarnation, right? But the mystery implodes.
That's right. Yeah. As we often say, that mysteries are not like a murder mystery to be solved. The mystery is not meant to be solved, but rather entered into. Yeah. And deepened. And that's why when people talk about struggling with their faith, I go, that is a good thing. It is good if you are struggling in your faith, because it means that you recognize that there's a capacity that you have for deeper questioning, for going deeper into who you are and who you are in the eyes of God. Yeah. And so it's an okay thing. If you're struggling with your faith, it means you're open to mystery. Yeah. Exactly. It's when we shut it down and say, well, I'm going to cover over it with some pleasure or some immediate gratification, that's when struggling with my faith or struggling with belief becomes problematic for my soul and for me, because it means that I'm shutting down those processes that God is using to bring me deeper in.
Yeah. Well, and, like we were saying, we can use those moments of encountering the mystery of another person. We can use those moments of encountering mystery in creation. Those are not all just kind of like lane yap, right? Like you could have it or you could not. No, those are like training grounds for experiencing that ultimate mystery, right? The mystery of God, the transcendent divinity, right? Who is also near to us, right? God is transcendent, but he's near to us. And so if you can think about like, there's this sacramentality to all of creation, right? Which is why like Father Chris was saying, like you can plumb the depths of a mystery and still find even more to be told, to be unveiled, right? Like think about like a person that you love, right? The more you get to know that person, it's not like the mystery goes away, right? But you should wonder, you should reverence even more, like wow, at this person.
I mean, if you like couples that have been married for years, it's not that they can read each other like a book because they can. Yeah. But it's because there is still something that amazes them about their spouse. Yeah. Right. And amazement comes from being completely at a loss to unpack the mystery of the other person.
Yeah. And so that's really at the heart of mystery, right? We have to be, first of all, like humbled enough to allow ourselves to be overtaken by mystery. Because if we at first try to apply our intellect to a mystery, then we become God in that scenario, and we try to do the Pac-Man thing of just like consuming everything that comes in our path.
Except the ghosts. We do not consume the ghosts.
That's right. But Benedict XVI talks about how mystery is something that we should allow to like envelop us, right? So we stand beneath mystery, and you can look all around you and understand that mystery. You can't see everything at once, but you can still see something and understand it, right? Yeah. But we have to first allow mystery to overwhelm us, to envelop us, right? So then mysteries then unfold to us. They're unveiled. That vertical dimension is more and more made known to us. And then every person that we meet, everything that we encounter, will go up in that cry of, oh, great and wondrous mystery.
Yep. And that, of course, is part of what makes life worth living. waking up every morning, whether we're in a good place or a bad place, and saying, Lord, I'm open to mystery today. I'm open to the way in which you're going to introduce me to you. Even if it means that I have to go to Calvary today in a way that I was not expecting, you are present there. And that is why it's no coincidence that the cross was used as a mode by which mystery would be broken open and made known to us. It's because the vertical and the horizontal beams of the cross come together with Christ on it. And so if you and I are called to be crucified every day, it's so that God may unpack and unfold the mysterious desire that he has for us, that even though we don't deserve it, he wants us, and he wants us to be gathered up into himself, not just in a mysterious way now, sacramentally, but also ultimately with him in heaven. And that's what drives us on, even if we're going through a rough patch, a difficult time. And so be not afraid, O great and wondrous mystery God. That means each of us has the capacity, Kathleen, to become a mystic in some way. Yeah, isn't that something?
I'm excited.
There is one mystery that we can easily uncover here on the Catholic Underground, and that's that part of the show that we like to call
the CU Pick of the Week.
Alrighty, for the first pick of the week, I don't know. I think maybe we should have let Olivia go first.
Okay.
Huh? You think? Okay. Olivia, your pick of the week.
Go
in
for
your
gold.
great mercy. Okay, so my pick of the week is it's actually like a person on Instagram with a business. I don't know exactly how to like classify her, but it's something called Everthrift. So it's this lady who her like business, I guess, is she's like an expert at like thrift shopping, and so she'll go and find these really cool like vintage pieces, things that are really in style. But like, I don't know about y'all, but I don't have any luck when I go to a thrift store.
No.
I find like people's trash when I go to the thrift store that someone wants me to pay $3 for. But she finds this really cool, really beautiful stuff, and she does like these little sales. Like she'll post like all the things that are going to be for sale. She'll do little try-on videos and stuff. Sorry guys, it's just for women. And she'll like explain to you how it fits and all this stuff. And then like she had one tonight where like at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, it went live, right? And so it's like first come first serve. She's only got one of each thing, right?
That's clever.
Yeah. But it's really like the stuff that she posts is really beautiful, and like it's sometimes it doesn't work out. You'll click on something and be like, oh, that's not my size, and that's the only one. So you kind of have to, it's hit or miss, but
That's so sad.
yeah, but she's got really good taste, and so she's not the only person like this on Instagram, but she is the one that I think does it the best. So Everthrift.
Very
That's my pick of the
cool.
week.
That is, that's quite something.
Love that.
Guys, if you're looking
I
for
know.
a nice, lovely gift for
Oh,
Valentine's
that's it.
Day.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Valentine's Day is upon us, my friends.
Right,
Yeah,
Cupid's birthday.
Now that Olivia and Kathleen are taken, I think they're sending small hints to their guys.
No.
Kathleen is winking heavily.
Yes.
Blunk,
We
blunk.
did speak about jewelry taste this weekend.
Oh.
I said just a little hint. Put that away. Store that nugget away.
We made a rule that it's got to be homemade and less than $10. So it's a craft challenge.
Okay. I like a good
Oh,
craft
yeah,
challenge.
that's
Kathleen, are you craft challenged?
I do a good craft.
She does. I can say that.
However, this year
We're going for jewelry.
we're going big.
We're going for jewelry.
Well, I don't that
Well, what is your pick of the week jewelry?
Okay, no,
Wait
my
a minute. Kathleen is looking at jewelry on her monitor.
I'm looking at Everthrift. But
okay. All right.
Jewelry. Sorry.
Do a little
my-
shopping on the show.
My pick of the week, I'll tell you this. I have thin hair. It's fine and thin. Thank you, genetics.
fine.
Okay? So I can never, like, if I ran out of volumizer yesterday, it did not go well. Okay?
You had a
So I'm always
frizz
looking for
thing?
ways.
Is that
No,
what
it was like
happened?
flat to my head. No
Oh, I
volume. I look like I will look like a wet dog. But anyway, so I'm always looking for something to give me a little volume. And I didn't realize there's dry shampoo, right, that you can use to wash your hair when you don't have to wash your hair.
I've
But
heard
I
about
use it, so I fix my hair. I put my volumizer in, blow dry my hair, and then I style my hair, and then I dry shampoo it while it's dry to give it some lift. Now I found this one. It's called Salon Graphics. Salon Graphics Dry Touch Volumizing Dry Shampoo. It is awesome. It's like less than $10.
I'm always afraid of dry shampoos. I don't know what to
be
think
afraid.
about that.
Embrace
Be not
it
afraid.
and love it.
Really?
I find it at Walmart. I think it's available at Target. Definitely on Amazon.
Yeah, that's a
but
good price,
absorbs
too.
oil, adds body, refreshes instantly. Fresh jasmine and fig leaf scent.
Jasmine
Cart.
fig leaf.
This I'm
Wow.
very sad, and this is where my suffering comes in because this bottle is empty.
Who doesn't want to smell like Eden, right?
I do.
I'm
Jasmine
putting
and
it in
fig
my
leaf.
Amazon
Yes,
cart right now.
yes,
There
you
you
should.
go.
Yes, you should. It's fantastic.
Jeff, we go from volumizing dry shampoo to edibles.
Yes, and by the way, I owe Kathleen a ding.
Yay! A ding for me.
Yes, for you. Tajin Classico seasoning. This is something that I discovered at a Mexican restaurant my wife and I frequent.
Tajin.
And they have a drink called a michelada, which is sort of a combination of juice and all kinds of tomato juice, spices, and a lot of lime juice, and you pour a beer into it. But they rim the glass with this tajin. And I asked the lady, I said, tell me more about it. And she goes, oh, this stuff is great on everything. So I found some at the store, bought it, and she says it is especially good on mango and pineapple.
Oh, okay.
Which, so it's good for everything.
Can you elucidate the flavor briefly? Like, what is it?
It's mild chili peppers, so it's not hot.
Yeah.
It's full of flavor, and lime. I don't know how they do that.
You just dessicate that lime. That's not a problem. We can do
and
that.
sea salt. It's just pretty straightforward and simple. It's they have the habanero, version if you'd like, but this is
I don't.
It's on everything. Yeah, it's good.
Very
on everything.
cool. Well, my pick of the week,
Yes.
actually, you can get on Kindle because the time is upon us if you want to get to the nearest feast day of St. Joseph, is the Consecration to St. Joseph. Father Donald Calloway has released this book just in time to begin on the 16th of February.
Wow.
So that you'll be ready to go for the Feast of St. Joseph. But this is following the 33-day of preparation of consecration to Jesus through Mary, but in kind of learning who St. Joseph is and consecrating yourself to St. Joseph as and asking him to be a spiritual father for you. And so I've got the Kindle version because it was going to take time for the Amazon version to get to my door. So that's what I'll be doing beginning February 16th because it's a leap year, and it will culminate on the Feast of St. Joseph this year. So the Consecration to St. Joseph is my pick of the week. Thanks to Father Calloway for making that available. Jeff, we're always grateful for those who support our podcast and apostolate with their prayers and with their financial help. Thank you, right?
Yes, each and every day, and in this week, the Catholic Underground is possible because of people like you.
Yep.
Join the growing number of undergrounders at catholicunderground.com/donate. Also, an important way to support us is to like us, heart us, star us, share us on your social media platform of choice. And if you really like the podcast, go ahead and leave a review.
Yep.
That's huge.
That does indeed help,
Please.
for sure. Our panelists this week, you know them, Kathleen. She's been here. She's the benefactress, and she is the dry shampooed vixen.
You're welcome.
Kathleen, thank you.
Anytime.
Didn't mean to make it sound like like a pony or something. No, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, Olivia Galino, she's at the Real OMG with some dots in there. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you.
Up on the sideline, our technical director is Jeff Blackwell. He's at Jeff Blackwell us on Instagram and Twitter. Our research assistant, the leader of the crew in the lab, is Jim Hayes. Our video and our graphics director is Ed Ball, especially when I show up and do the graphics properly. Sorry, Ed. You know me. I'm Father Chris. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. At Digital Catholic is the way that you can do that. We do hope, sincerely, that we've helped you cut through the noise and find that still small voice, which is ultimately mysterious, but ultimately knowable. We are the Catholic Underground. We are Faith Gone Digital, and we will see you next time.